Welcome back. This morning we're taking a look at how a potential witness in the Karen Read retrial could tip the scales. We're talking about Turtleboy, whose real name is Aidan Kearney. He's a self-published blogger and arguably the most outspoken Karen Read advocate. And we learned in court on Wednesday what he plans to do if he's called as a witness by the Commonwealth. It's important to note that Turtleboy is the only witness in the case to take the fifth. None of the innocent witnesses that he is alleged to have intimidated have taken it. Every single one of them has testified, and they will all do so again. So what does that tell you about Turtleboy? Let's talk about it. I want to bring back in attorney Wendy Murphy and attorney John Phillips. Wendy, starting with you, the turtle's going to hide inside of his shell at the trial. Your thoughts?
That was a good one. Can I refer to him as the turd instead of the turtle? Because I'm trying to be as polite as I can without offending everybody in your audience. And, you know, the words that I'm thinking of using are probably objectionable. He is the most repulsive, harmful, destructive force in this case by far. Now, let's just be clear. I respect that he has a right to assert his Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. It's an important constitutional right. But what that means to us in the public is we can and should infer that he is hiding evidence that proves he committed crimes. You know, let's just be clear about that. Innocent people do not invoke the Fifth Amendment. Now, let me be clear. When I say innocent, I mean people with nothing to hide. Because as the judge made reference, and you heard it in that clip, if the prosecutor thought that his invocation of the Fifth Amendment was not in good faith, that he was just doing it as an excuse so he could sit in the courtroom and pretend to be a reporter, they would have had a hearing. The judge could have said, I find that his assertion of this privilege is not in good faith. He must testify. No, everyone in the room said, he's got stuff to hide. He's a criminal. He's got massive exposure here in terms of spending a good amount of time behind bars once he's convicted. So absolutely let him take the fifth, but let's all understand what that means.
Yes.
He's done some very bad things in this case. He needs to take the fifth, because if he did testify against himself, that wouldn't be good for his liberty. That's what it all means.
Right, right. He'd be in even worse trouble than he's already in. You're right, Wendy. And how about the point, I think this can't be underscored enough, that the reason he's got those 16 indictments we heard referenced are because he allegedly intimidated these witnesses, these independent people who didn't ask to be part of this case, just happened to be there that night and can offer something. These innocent people, they all testified. They all were very open in trial number one. They're all going to testify again in trial number two. None of them are taking the fifth. And he's accusing all of them of hiding something. John Phillips, what does that say to you about him?
It says a lot, and he did an interview with the Intelligencer. I'm not familiar with it, but he described himself, and I got to look down, as three things. One, an activist. Okay, he said it, an activist. Two, a journalist, and three, an entertainer or satirist. Those three things are entirely inconsistent. You can't be an investigator and go through a case and have objectivity while also being an entertainer, while also worried about your YouTube hits and your social media, bounce. And that's the problem here, is he's trying to wear all of these hats, and one's interfering with the other. And certainly he has a Fifth Amendment right, and with an open indictment, the prosecutors certainly don't want to go into that and reveal some information that shouldn't be revealed yet. But it creates this conflict. And, again, he's a guy that wears, and markets free Karen Read T-shirts. That's not objective. He gets exposure and he gets money from her free campaign, and yet won't testify. It's gross where we're headed with social media and podcasters, interfering with court.
Right. You're so right, John. I have seen so much more disinformation about this case, disinformation and misinformation about this case than I have any other one I have ever covered. This has been the most vile case for so many reasons, and the victim has gotten lost, and I know you both appreciate that so much as you are advocates for victims. And when we think about what this is really about, this trial has turned into a shameful circus. It really has. And when we think about the origination of this circus, who does it go back to? Gee, Mr. Turtleboy and his friend, Ms. Karen Reed. Now this relationship is being exposed. Your thoughts on how Hank Brennan has now made public what those two kept quiet for so long?
Yeah, really important in this case. And by the way, I know we've been saying the only person who took the fifth was this turd man, but Karen took the fifth too. Let's be honest about it, right? So the two criminals took the fifth. Who's surprised? Nobody. But one of the important things in this case that we really didn't see last time, we all thought about it, but we didn't hear it from the prosecutor per se in a way that sounded like it was going to make a big difference. Hank Brennan now is saying part of what's going on in this case is a disinformation campaign bought and paid for by this criminal who thinks that that's a tactic, that, you know, in defense attorney school, one of the things they allow you to do is just pay for PR firms and pay for protesters to show up and pay for bot farms so that social media creates this frenzy and sense that you're actually innocent and it's all a conspiracy. I mean, there are so many mentally ill people who will just buy into that regardless of the evidence. So I think what Hank Brennan's doing is making that part of his case now, saying, not only am I going to prove her guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, I'm going to prove that she was part of a campaign to mislead the public. So that's a very different approach. I was a prosecutor in Massachusetts. I've never had to do that before, both prove my case and disprove nonsense.
Right.
But we're going to hear that in this case.
Wendy, thank you for pointing that out. You're right. He's going to expose it all. He already started, and thank goodness for that, because this is just all about getting to the truth. And Wendy, John, you both, of course, know this. Our courties know. Legally, we know Karen Reed is cloaked in the presumption of innocence. Hank Brennan and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts have that burden to carry. And no one, the jury, can hold it against her if she doesn't testify. Point taken, Wendy, that she's done a lot of talking to interviews of her choosing and not in the trial last time. We'll see if she changes her mind this time. Stand by for that. We'll have to leave it here for now, but great points from you both always. Wendy Murphy, John Phillips, I know you're busy people. We have to let you both go off to court. Hope to see you back here again soon. That is all for this episode of Opening Statements, friends. You can watch it again. You can share it. Go to courttv.com to do that. We put the episodes up for you every day. Just click on the Shows tab.